Oh, good morning, everybody. It's Friday, I think it's the 30th of October. The old bloke who knows what day of the week it is but doesn't know what the date is. But I think it's the 30th of October. I don't know, it might be the 31st. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning and I'm starting my morning run. Now today I'm going to talk about social media, information, misinformation and disinformation. And so, for disclosure purposes, I have a social media presence or accounts on Facebook and YouTube. I can't and won't comment on any other forms of social media because I'm not familiar with them and I don't know how they operate. Also, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, just a bloke who's running, talking about things that interest him and passing on that interest to other people, and be a bit of huffing and puffing while I get myself into rhythm. Please bear with that if you can. I've made some videos before talking about social media, and I've generally been fairly encouraging about it. I see that something like Facebook has some good points. For example, I have children and grandchildren who live in other states. I can't always go and visit them, so when the parents, that is my children, post photos of things that their children, my grandchildren, are doing, I'm able to see those and comment on them and be part of the celebration of the event, and I think that's a good thing. I'm aware of the bullying and trolling and all that sort of stuff that goes on, and I've made videos where I've talked about that and talked about what I think is the responsible use of social media. With YouTube, I have a channel, as I've said. I have people who subscribe to my channel and presumably enjoy the content. It means that there are other people who have similar interests to mine, or at least are interested in what I've got to say about a variety of things. I have a grandson who makes stop motion animation videos, particularly about dinosaurs. He has subscribers who are interested in what he does. It gives him an outlet for his interests, and it helps him to know that other people share that interest and enjoy the content. But again, as I said, I'm aware of the bullying, trolling and all that sort of stuff So social media has its downside, and that is to do with, as well as the trolling and bullying and so forth, the information, misinformation and disinformation. So let me try and explain what I think those words mean. Information, that's the stuff where we get from the news, newspapers, current affairs shows, perhaps documentaries, news broadcasts on television, radio, perhaps even some podcasts. It's accurate, it's been researched, it's been verified in some cases by reputable sources, or it's quoted research from people who are experts in a particular field and qualified to comment on particular things. It might be, for example, the government has announced a new program of some sort. The minister's giving a press conference, TV cameras, radio microphones have all recorded what was said. There are documents released by the minister to explain what is being planned and so forth. Could be a result of a sporting competition, a football game or something like that. That's information. Misinformation is when somebody has taken some information and either misunderstood it and said things it didn't say, or misrepresented what a person has said by using their words, but perhaps not giving you the context for what they've said. Taking a set of data and said it shows one thing when it actually doesn't show that, or it shows almost the complete opposite. Now sometimes that happens because the person who is presenting the misinformation isn't sufficiently qualified to explain and understand what it is that they're now misrepresenting to you. Sometimes it's an honest mistake where they haven't done sufficient research before publishing or posting whatever it is that they've said. And sometimes it's a deliberate thing that's done to try and influence the way you think about a certain person or a certain issue. Some of the things that we hear about at election time, and I want to try and keep politics out of these things because they can be quite divisive, but sometimes things that are said during election campaigns can be well and truly in the category of misinformation. Somebody has said a thing, but they might have said it 20 years ago, but it's now been found and brought back to them. Somebody has said that the other side are going to do a certain thing, and the other side has said, no, we're not going to do that. In fact, we specifically said we're never going to do that. That's done to try and influence your vote, of course. And then there's the third category, disinformation. And the best way to describe that is to say it's when somebody says or posts something they know to be true or false. They deliberately post a thing they know is false. And they do that, again, to influence your opinion, to get you to think a certain way about a certain thing. Now, let me give you some examples of what can be or what are either misinformation, if somebody has misinterpreted certain events, or disinformation, where somebody has claimed something that flat out didn't happen. Early this year, 2025, there was some pretty serious flooding in a part of Texas in the United States. There were a group of children who were attending a music camp at the time. Some of them were caught in the floods, and sadly some of them died. Now, as the rescue and clean-up operations were going on, there were posts appearing, at least on my Facebook. Maybe you didn't see these things, but at least on my Facebook feed, to say that various celebrities, mainly musicians for some reason, and two that come to mind specifically were Paul McCartney and Rod Stewart. And the claim was, in both cases, that they had lost a granddaughter in the floods. Now, at the time, neither event was reported by anything what you might call mainstream media or reputable news site. These were posts from separate organisations or groups or posters, whatever, claiming these events. Interestingly, the exact same words, or the same words, were used in both posts. The text was exactly the same, except for the name of the celebrity. At the same time, in the cleanup, there were posts featuring what were allegedly the people who were the subject of the post, including, for example, Mick Jagger and Bob Dylan, both men in their middle 80s who had dropped everything and rushed down to Texas, and were seen here in these posts photographed holding children that by implication they had rescued from the floodwaters or the mud or whatever. Again, the same words were used in both posts from different organisations. The very idea that the authorities were going to allow an 80-odd-year-old man to go down there and do that seemed ludicrous. Similarly, there were posts again that alleged that celebrities, mainly musicians again for some reason, had opened their checkbooks and made donations varying from $350,000 to $1.5 million or more to the rescue efforts. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that some people did in fact make those donations, but again, different organisations posting these things are somehow using the same words in every post. It leads you to the conclusion that it probably didn't happen. And you wonder why the people who created those posts feel the need to invoke the names of these celebrities to elicit your sympathy and concern with the children whose lives were lost and the families who lost their children. I'm going to make some comments about Charlie Kirk, not about him specifically or about anything he said or believed or did, because up until the day he died, I had never heard of him. I had no interest in what he believes in. I don't know what he believes in, and frankly I don't care. But in the days after his death, another bunch of celebrities, including Neil Diamond for some reason, Elton John, I think even Billy Joel, and some of those celebrities I've already mentioned, were alleged to have fired somebody from their touring party, the guitar technician, the coffee guy, somebody else, or allegedly making disparaging posts about Charlie Kirk. Now, again, in every post, the text was exactly the same, except for the name of the person who is alleged to have done this thing. Now, curiously, first of all, you have to ask, how does the celebrity that's named know what some person on the tour, who's not a member of the band and therefore not necessarily close to them, has posted on their social media? That's a legitimate question, especially when, as I said, all the texts had the same words. At the same time, another bunch of artists, but again, particularly Neil Diamond for some reason, maybe they pick on these people who use their names because they know that's how they get my interest. So like Neil Diamond or Elton John or Billy Joel or Rod Stewart, whoever it is, we know this guy likes those people, so we'll put that person's name in a post and we'll send it to him. These posts, there are posts that appeared where those celebrities I just mentioned have all allegedly contacted Charlie Kirk's widow. And again, I want to say, I don't know who he is. I'd never heard of him before he died. I don't know what he believes in, and I don't care. I'm sorry that he died, especially the way he died, and I'm sorry that he's left a wife and children. But according to these posts, the aforementioned celebrities have all opened their checkbooks and guaranteed the living expenses for the wife and family to the tune of 5, 6, 7, 10 million, whatever it is, amount. And as with all the posts I've mentioned so far, exact words, the same words are used in every post. This leads you to conclude that the posts are generated by some sort of AI chat bot or whatever you call those things. And you might think, well, it's just a bit of harmless fun. No one's hurt. What are you getting upset about? First of all, it's information that's probably incorrect. In other words, it probably didn't happen. And we should be very careful about it. Accepting information that we can't verify, and basing our opinions, our attitudes, or even our actions on that. Secondly, and this is the thing that celebrities rightly get annoyed about, is their image is used to endorse things that they may not endorse. Now, I don't know whether any of the celebrities that I've mentioned here have any interest in Charlie Kirk and his life or not. I don't know, and I don't care. I don't need to know, and as I said, I don't care. But the celebrity rightly has a right to say, it's my photograph, it's my image, it's my face, it's my name. I get the right to determine where it gets used and what use it gets put to, not somebody else. And if I want to endorse a particular thing or product or person, I will, and I'll do it my way. Now, again, you're probably wondering why people go to all this trouble. I suspect, again, in this case, it's to influence your thinking and elicit some sympathy for Charlie Kirk and his family. And I'm saying, even if you did know who the bloke was and you didn't like him or his politics, I doubt that most rational people would have wanted him murdered and would have wanted his wife and young children left alone. So eliciting of sympathy seems a bit, I'm not sure what the word is, but it doesn't seem to sit right. But I think it's part of a more concerted campaign to try and give credibility to his issue or any other issue like that. A lot of people might just be dismissing and saying, not something I'm interested in, not something I care about, not something I want to know about. Now, I'm said all this for a purpose, because yesterday, while I'm bored out of my skull trying to find something interesting to watch on TV or whatever, I go trawling through YouTube and I come to this video that's posted. I can't remember the name of the group that posted it, so I don't want to say and then name the wrong people, but it was a post that alleged to explain a bunch of changes that are coming to traffic laws and road rules in Queensland. There was a man in a suit standing there. He was speaking. As far as I could tell, he was a real person, not an AI generated thing. He was talking about road rules and laws in Queensland, and for those outside of Australia, that's the northern state on the east coast of Australia. But he was speaking for the most part in what I would describe as a Netflix AI generated type American accent. It was not so broadly American like in New York or someone from the deep south as to immediately make you think this is rubbish or to offend you. They're just sufficiently bland as to not give any offence while the video was proceeding. There are about 12 minutes to this video, and for clarity I should say I don't know if Queensland is or is not changing its road rules. Maybe some of the things that were being spoken about in the video are actually coming into effect. I don't know that because I don't live in Queensland. I live in New South Wales. But the person was not named. They didn't have anything on the screen to say who they were. There was no suggestion, for example, that they were representing any branch or part of the Queensland government. There was no suggestion that they might have been a lawyer specialising in traffic matters or anything like that. It just appeared to be some bloke in a suit talking about these proposed changes which were going to come into effect from the start of next year, 2026. Now I sat through the whole video and I found a whole bunch of things that were basic errors, that if this had any official imprimatur, I think is the word, wouldn't be there. And I'll get to why that's all important, but in the opening thumbnail for the video was a picture of this person and Anthony Albanese, along with the title, something to do with Queensland road rule changes or words to that effect. Those who don't know, who live outside Australia, Anthony Albanese, or Albo as he's known, is the Prime Minister of Australia. He's the head of the Commonwealth or federal government. The Commonwealth or federal government has no plans and no control over licensing, fines, penalties, demerit points or road rules in Queensland or in any other state of Australia. All of those matters, vehicle registration, licensing, speed limits, road rules, so forth, are the responsibility of the relevant state government. But I suspect the picture of Albo was put there because as clickbait for the Albo haters to tune into and think, God, what is he up to now? Now again, I don't have any brief on Albanese. I'm not trying to defend him. He has nothing to do with this matter. Oh dear, poor baby kangaroo that I think's been hit by something. I don't have my phone. About a minute 35 into this video, there's a shot of a person behind the wheel of a car while the commentary talks about a particular point. The problem is the steering wheel's on the wrong side of the car. In Australia, we drive on the left of the road and the steering wheel's on the right hand side of the car. Now you think if anyone was going to talk about road rules in Australia, they'd get that bit right. A little bit further along in the video, there are lanes of traffic. They're going away from the camera, but in the same lane coming towards the camera, in other words going in the opposite direction, is a car. And beside that, in the next lane, is the person on a bicycle or cyclist, both going in the opposite direction to the traffic. Again, something fundamental you think you would get right. At another point in the video, there is a graphic. It tries to illustrate the implications of a person eating or drinking coffee or something while they're driving. Problem being, the car appears to have two steering wheels, one on either side of the car. At another point in the video, there is a graphic on the screen that talks about rumours about changes to laws. And the word rumour is spelled R-U-M-O-R. In Australia, we spell the word R-U-M-O-U-R. There's also a word on a graphic on the screen that appears to be Y-E-U-O-R, which one could assume was a typo for your, that is Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, short for you are doing something. Trouble is, there's no such word. Again, if this was a serious video about these changes, then the person or persons making it, you would think, would take the trouble to check those sort of things before the video is uploaded. At another point, there is a graphic of vehicles and focuses on the number plate. I think the Americans call them tags, but the number plate, and although it's obscured, it doesn't look like a Queensland plate. It's the wrong shape, and Queensland plates have maroon letters on them. And although letters are not legible enough to say what they are, they're clearly not maroon. The video at another point talks about the current rules governing learner drivers and the 100 hours of driving that they're supposed to do. Logbook certified driving they're supposed to do before they can go for their P-plate licence. Problem is, the L plates appear to be white backgrounds with either red or blue L's. In Australia, the L plate is yellow with a black L. And again, you think you could get that bit right. And I think the final thing was, there may be others, but the final thing that I can recall is that there's a point where the video focuses on two cars travelling down a highway. They're both on the wrong side of the road for Australia in the first place, but one of them is, we're meant to believe, be a police car because the cars are stationary, and there's a person who's dressed in a police uniform, or what looks like a police uniform, standing beside the car. Again, the problem is the car is one of those black and white cruisers that you often see in the TV shows in America, or from America, where the cops are cruising around the city looking for the bad guys or chasing the bad guys. It doesn't look anything like a police vehicle anywhere in Australia. Most, not all, but most police vehicles, and the ones that are on highway patrol in Australia are white, and they have blue and white wrapping, I think is probably the best word, around them that says police, or anything like the vehicle that's shown here. Now you might wonder, why does all this matter and why am I carrying on about it? Well, it matters because a little while ago a similar group posted a video that said the Australian government was going to bring in new rules that imposed curfews, night curfews on drivers over 60. And this video was posted by a group who were allegedly representing senior citizens and keeping them up to date with changes that might affect their lives. The problem was the Australian government has no authority, no power to do such a thing, and according to the people who then researched the video, there was no evidence in any state that any such thing was going to happen. There are rules that govern assessment for drivers, some of whom are over, some states I think is over 75, other states is over 80, but that is a state matter over which the federal government has no control, and there was certainly no plan that anyone was aware of or could find out that said drivers over 60 were now going to be subject to nighttime curfews. But it caused a lot of people to panic and worry and thought they were going to lose their licence. And these were guys who perhaps worked, or women who worked the night shift perhaps, or people who had to go and pick their partner up from work when they finished late at night, and suddenly they thought they were going to lose their licence, or they were going to lose their ability to drive at night. So, like this video that I've been describing, it contains misinformation and deliberate disinformation, information that people know to be false, that causes distress. And it's important because you might say, well, it's just somebody having a laugh and pulling a prank or something like that. But if you're an older person, I'm 72 for example, and I think I'm reasonably intelligent. I have university degrees and diplomas and stuff like that, and I have all my marbles. But if you're my age or a bit older, and maybe you're having some memory problems or something like that, you don't necessarily have the capacity to see that as a prank. You think it's actually going to happen, and you begin to worry, am I going to lose my licence? Should I go and take a driving test? Should I give up my licence before they take it away from me? Or things like that. And the thing is, when you see these videos, that except for the areas that I pointed out, they're only there because I actually sat through the video and looked at all these things carefully to make sure that if there were errors I could find them. You would accept that this is an actual video and these things are actually going to happen. I say for clarity, I'm 6.24 into my run, turn around going back, 39.52. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. It's a long video, I know, but it's important. So, somebody here has posted something that I think they are well aware was false. There may be some changes coming to road rules in Queensland. I'm not aware of whether there are or there aren't. I don't know, and I don't live in Queensland. But the way the information was presented here would lead you to the conclusion that most of what was said was false. And the problem is, if people keep doing things like this, soon we can't get to tell the difference between what is false and what is true, what is accurate and what is disinformation. And that's the concerning thing about AI. There are lots of good things about it for sure, but that's the concerning thing about it, that again, people will misuse it and do things like this that will cause other people harm or distress. All right, well, thank you for listening. If you have an opinion or a thought or a comment, please leave it in the comment section, and when I become aware of it, I will respond. As I say now, please respond to the content. If you agree or disagree with something that I've said here, or you're aware of something similar, then by all means share your experience. My name is Roger. I probably should have said that at the start of this video. I'm a 72-year-old white male. I live in a town called Goulburn in southwest New South Wales, about 200 kilometres from Sydney and 100 kilometres north, thereabouts, of Canberra. And I make these videos just because I have things that I like to talk about while I'm running. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your day, and I'll catch you when I'm making the next running video, whenever that might be.